NASA engineers have re-established communication with the Voyager 1 spacecraft, Earth's most distant emissary, after months of troubleshooting a glitch that had rendered the probe's transmissions.
Everyone's favorite space probes, the Voyagers, are back in the headlines again. Recently, it looked like we almost lost communication with Voyager 1 for good. Back on December 12, 2023, NASA reported that Voyager 1's flight data system, which consists of 3 onboard computers, started sending binary gibberish data back to Earth, a repeating pattern of ones and zeros that made no sense to the engineers. When the glitch first occurred, engineers could still send signals to the distant probe and could tell it was still operating, but something was clearly wrong. The first thing NASA tried was rebooting the system, but that didn't work, and the probe kept talking nonsense. After months of trying every trick in the book, NASA engineers finally came up with a solution. Before diving into the fix, it's important to take a closer look at the Voyager 1 probe to understand just how remarkable it was for the engineering team to come up with a solution for the glitch in the first place. First of all, it's astonishing that the Voyager 1 and 2 probes have been traveling in space for nearly 47 years. NASA has been doing everything it can to keep the probes operational, not only to squeeze as much data about interstellar space as possible, but also hoping they'll still be operational for their 50th anniversary in space. Voyager 2 was launched on August 20th, 1977, and Voyager 1 followed on September 5th, 1977, making them the oldest active space probes. Remarkably, the Voyager probes were only designed to last 4 years. When Voyager 1's communication glitch first appeared, NASA engineers feared it might mark the end of communications with the probe, describing the situation as very tense. They certainly didn't want to lose contact with such an important spacecraft after all it had accomplished and been through. Voyager 1 is a scientific legend, having achieved some remarkable feats. For instance, it discovered that one of Jupiter's moons, Io, wasn't just a dead rock but a supervolcanic world. This color-processed image of a volcano erupting out into space was so incredible it blew everyone's minds and was a huge surprise for NASA scientists. Voyager 1 also captured breathtaking images of Saturn, which wowed everyone. Beyond the visuals, the probe discovered that Saturn's largest moon, Titan, might actually have liquid water on its surface. These are just a few highlights of the discoveries made by Voyager 1. So, what happened to Voyager 1, and what caused the spacecraft to stop communicating normally? It turns out a critical system had gone haywire. Voyager 1's flight data system is an essential component that enables the spacecraft to function autonomously during its deep space journey. Currently, the probe is an unbelievable 15.5 billion miles away from Earth, making any communication with it an amazing feat. However, the glitch in the flight data system, which consists of components like the central computer, data storage units, command interface, and telemetry systems, disrupted operations. The primary computer aboard Voyager 1, the Command and Data Subsystem, CDS, processes commands from Earth and manages the spacecraft's functions. Voyager 1's computer system is very primitive by modern standards. The CDS only has 68 kilobytes of memory and a processing speed of 8 kilohertz, which equates to about 8,000 instructions per second. To put that in perspective, modern CPUs with a clock speed of 3 gigahertz execute 3 billion cycles per second, and today's smartphones often have 32 gigabytes of memory. The difference is like comparing a cup with 68 drops of water to 32 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The glitch occurred on the flight data system, which is responsible for managing and transmitting scientific data collected by Voyager 1's instruments back to Earth. This system acts as the spacecraft's central nervous system, coordinating its various subsystems. After months of investigation, NASA engineers discovered that about 3% of the flight data system's memory was corrupted, possibly due to charged particles in deep space or simply age. Since the chip couldn't be repaired, engineers broke the corrupted code into smaller pieces and stored it in spare memory locations. On April 18, 2024, the first fix was transmitted to Voyager 1. With a total of 30 billion miles to traverse for the signal to reach the spacecraft and return to Earth, NASA had to wait nearly 2 full days for a response. On April 20, 2024, NASA received confirmation that the fix had worked, bringing immense relief. Now, engineers are working to rewrite the remaining lost code, restoring the probe's ability to send home important scientific data. This isn't the first time the Voyager probes have experienced failures. The harsh conditions of space have taken a toll on both Voyager 1 and 2 over the decades. Contact with Voyager 2 was lost in August 2023, and engineers initially thought it was the end. However, communication was re-established just a few days later. To conserve power, NASA has shut down some of the probe systems. Voyager 1 currently has 4 out of 10 instruments running, while Voyager 2 has 5. Engineers have powered down heaters and other non-critical systems to preserve power for the high-gain antennas, which are the main communication link with Earth. The active instruments include magnetometers, which measure the magnetic fields of the Sun and outer planets. In 2015, these instruments made a key discovery, finding that even past the heliopause, the outer edge of the heliosphere, solar winds could still redirect magnetic fields of charged particles. Low-energy charged particle instruments are also still active on both probes, helping researchers locate the heliopause in 1993 after a burst of solar activity. Meanwhile, the hydrazine thrusters, which propel the spacecraft and help keep them warm, remain operational on both crafts. That propel the spacecraft and help them keep warm, and both space probes have a micrometeorite shield that protects the instruments at the rear of the spacecraft from dust and tiny particles. The other important instruments that are still powered are called the optical calibration target instruments, which calibrate each of the probe's charged particle instruments. Both of the Voyagers have had their instruments pointed to the target plate for calibration countless times during their long deep space travels. Other instruments on the probes are switched off, and some have been off for decades now to conserve power. Aside from the instruments are the probe's radioisotope thermoelectric generators. These generators use plutonium-238 to power the craft and keep them warm and have allowed the probes to extend their missions for such a long time. However, they are starting to become weaker and weaker and will one day stop operating altogether, ending the Voyager missions forever. And that day could come very soon. But just because the probes will one day go silent does not mean that the Voyagers will be useless to us. Let's not forget that both spacecraft carry a message from Earth for other advanced civilizations that might be out there and could potentially spot these probes in space. The Voyager Golden Records are phonograph records that were put aboard both of the Voyager spacecraft. These records were intended to provide a snapshot of Earth and its inhabitants for any extraterrestrial intelligence that might encounter the probes in the distant future. The records include recordings of various natural sounds from Earth, such as thunder, bird songs, and the sound of ocean waves. They also contain greetings spoken in 55 languages and musical selections from different cultures around the world. Some of the music pieces include Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 2, Beethoven's Symphony No. 5, and, believe it or not, Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good. The records also contain 16 images encoded in analog form depicting various aspects of life on Earth, including landscapes, animals, human anatomy, and scientific diagrams. It's certainly worth mentioning that the content was curated by a committee chaired by the late great Carl Sagan, the astronomer, cosmologist, and science communicator. The records are made of gold-plated copper and are designed to withstand the rigors of space travel for billions of years. Each record is encased in an aluminum cover with instructions for playback engraved on the outside, including information on how to build a stylus and a cartridge to play the records, as well as a diagram showing the location of the sun relative to 14 pulsars, which can be used to determine the time and place of origin of the spacecraft. Yes, if there are hostile aliens out there, we just gave them directions to our planet. They might not care that the primary purpose of the golden records is to convey a message of goodwill from humanity to any extraterrestrial beings that might intercept the Voyager probes. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. Now, remember when we told you that we had something mind-blowing to tell you? It has to do with the amazing fact that we're still able to communicate with the probes at all, with them both being over 15 billion miles away. Voyager 1 is moving away from us at around 38,000 miles per hour, and Voyager 2 is moving at around 35,000 miles per hour. But here's something interesting that you probably didn't know. For a portion of every year, the Earth comes around the Sun and is moving towards both spacecraft faster than they're moving away. That's right. Earth, in its orbit, swings towards the spacecraft at a speed of 67,000 miles per hour. Therefore, their distance to Earth gets closer temporarily. They never change their outward motion. It is us and the Earth that changes. Both of the Voyager probes continue their mission to explore interstellar space and transmit valuable scientific data back to Earth. They remain the farthest human-made objects from Earth, operating beyond the influence of our Sun's solar wind in the interstellar medium. They are truly a testament to the ingenuity of the human imagination. That's all we have for today, but be sure to stay tuned here for more updates on the Voyagers as we hear about them. Let us know if you want to hear more about the discoveries from these amazing probes in the comments. Thanks for watching.